years. He has a practice on Union Street in San Francisco and also one in Berkeley. Right?
Home office by
home
appointment
office
only.
by appointment only. So, yeah, don't just
San
come out.
Francisco,
Don't just
really, not
show
just
up.
show.
Yeah.
Have a people.
My daughter Ricky is a great chiropractor, really cares, tries to look at the whole picture, not just adjust you and go. So with that said, Ricky, why don't you put your
Okay, thank
spiel.
you. So I want to talk about why we are in pain. In my practice, I'm dealing 90% of the patients I'm seeing are there because of pain, and in most cases it's because of posture. And what happens is that the nature of the world that we have constructed is one which forces us into constricted positions. And basically we're living distorted lives in many ways, both structurally as well as internally. We're a bit of a society, I'd say, that's out of balance right now. And when people come to see me and they're having pain, the first thing I do is I look at how they stand, how they hold themselves in space. And what I see most typically are people who have their heads forward of their body and their shoulders rounded. And a big part of this is the computer, is that people are sitting in front of computers mostly all day long. And the nature of the relationship between us as individuals and the computer is that the computer sucks us into its screen. And when your head gets sucked into that screen, when it moves forward, all the muscles of your upper back especially work to bring your head above your center of gravity. Whether you command your body to do that or not, that's what happens. And so all the time that you're sitting in front of that computer screen, you are basically tensing the muscles of your upper back. So whenever you are experiencing pain, it's because there's pressure on a nerve. Patients always ask me, well, is this a nerve problem? Is this a muscle problem? Is this a joint problem, a bone problem? If you have pain, there's a nerve that's involved, a nerve that's being irritated. And what happens is because those muscles are tight, you have these nerves which move through the body of that musculature. And just given the fact that that muscle is tightening up means there's pressure being put on the nerve. That's source one of pain, muscle pain. But then the muscles connect to the bones. They connect to the vertebrae of the spine in this case. And when that muscle is tight, it prevents that joint from moving properly. When a joint does not move properly, then you have another area of dysfunction. Among other things, what joints do is they act as pumps. And so going through joint space, there are blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, nerves, and when that joint is moving properly, it's pumping, and all those fluids are moving through that joint space. Well, if you lose motion in that joint, then you start to get congestion in that joint. I mean, it's a very basic mechanical problem, something that Raphael sees, or Lou has to deal with in terms of just straight ahead mechanical structure. So if you start to get congestion in that joint because there's a lack of motion, then you start to irritate the nerves due to that congestion in that joint space. That becomes a secondary source of pain. Now, there are different types of nerve endings. There are pain-sensitive nerve endings, which are the ones which convey that pain and let us know that there's something wrong. But then there are also motor fibers. And the motor fibers, the motor nerve endings, are the ones which send signals back into the muscle to make those muscles move. So when I want to go pick up a cup of coffee, my brain tells me, go do that, and then the muscles act. But when I'm sitting in a position in front of a computer screen all day long, and I'm not telling my muscles to do anything, but they are contracting, they don't get to relax, they don't relieve. And so what happens is then when that nerve is irritated, it automatically sends a signal back into the muscle and makes that muscle even tighter. So you're in a cycle. So the way it goes is poor posture, tight muscles, irritated nerves, tight joints because of the tension in the muscles, irritated nerves in the joint space, and then tighter muscles. So we're in a cycle all day long. And so what I do as a chiropractor is first I'm going to analyze, well, how are you holding yourself? How are you standing? What are you doing in space? then I'm going to find which muscles are tight. If the muscle is tight, I'm going to loosen it, whether I'm doing a deep muscle technique, trigger point work, and also showing people stretches and exercises that they can do in order to loosen that up. Then I'm going to see which joint is not moving because of the tension in that muscle, and that's the adjustment. That's what I do as a chiropractor. I put motion into the joint. By relaxing the muscles and putting motion into those joints, we break the cycle. However, that cycle is just going to start up again if we're not aware of what we're doing to perpetuate this problem. And so, as important as me working on the structures that are causing the pain is me educating patients about what they need to do in order to break the cycle themselves. And for me, the most valuable part of my work is to empower people through my teaching so that they understand what's causing the problem and what they can do to minimize the effects and to relieve, basically to relieve the cause of the problem that they're presenting with. Any questions?
Yeah, I just give Ricky a quick testimonial because I've been seeing him pretty regularly and then more often after this car accident. And everything that he's talking about is what he's been applying to me. And you know, it's not just about just cracking some bones, but when he's working, I can feel him hitting like just certain points and where muscles are, where they're sore, and kind of just doing some adjustments, not just cracking the neck. And I've gone to other chiropractors in the past where it's just like it's a cattle call. You just go in, they crack you, and then you're done. You come back a couple days later, they crack you, and that's it. And Ricky's approach is completely different, so much better.
Oh, thank you, Sam. So anyway.
Yeah.